Hello everybody, welcome to my tutorial in Clip Studio Paint of sketching a character. Here I'm just opening my file, getting it ready for my sketch. I'm gonna choose my reference images. Clip Studio Paint offers the option of having reference images in a small window on the right side, and I think that's pretty cool. So I'm gonna take that and use it to all the advantage that it affords me. I'm just naming my layer, my sketch layer, choosing my pencil. I use the rough pencil in Clip Studio Paint. Adjust it, use dark blue, and then I'm gonna start by, I think I'm gonna start with the background. So I'm choosing the perspective ruler. It's in layer and then under ruler, perspective ruler, and you can choose 1 point, 2 point, or 3 point. Here I'm using 1 point perspective, 1 horizon line, 1 vanishing point, and then everything will move back in space towards that horizon and vanishing point. It's a very simple concept. As things move back in perspective, they get smaller, and things that are closer are bigger. So the perspective ruler in Clip Studio Paint affords you the ability to snap to. So all my lines that I make are going to snap to the perspective that I've chosen, where I've placed my horizon line and then my vanishing point. So here I'm drawing a window. So the concept of this sketch is really simple. It's a window, and in the window there's a young man from the Dragonball universe. I think some of you may know him. His Goku's, is it his second son? Yeah, that's Goku's second son. And he's supposed to be studying. His mom is like, you gotta study, you gotta make something of yourself. But he wishes he was outside on the sunny day just playing or training. And he's like in the window sleeping when he should be studying. So I just thought that was a fun concept. I came up with it because I was remembering one time I watched Dragon Ball Z, and I think it was around the Cell Saga. Gohan was very young, and Chi-Chi, his mom, had him studying, and she was like, Gohan, you gotta study, you can't be out with your father fighting and training, all this stuff. And the boy just wanted to play. But his mom was like, no, you gotta study, and thank God for moms, you know. Gohan made something of himself eventually. But I do remember in those episodes that he got to leave with his father to go fight. So sometimes you take a break from studying to exercise, and then other times, you know, you just gotta buckle down, make the sacrifices, make something of yourself, and, you know, be thankful to your parents for the effort they put into you. So, here I've blocked out most of the perspective, and I'm using the perspective ruler. I'm flipping through my reference and seeing what else I want to add to this image. Here I'm going to add the character. First I'm going to unsnap the perspective lines, and there we go. We're going to start drawing the character. So I'm going to use construction lines for the character's head, because I find that features are like trying to place something in a specific spot in the ocean. So it's like I'm supposed to stick something at exactly, I don't know, 42 degrees by 30 degrees, and that's somewhere in the ocean. And you're not sure exactly where it goes, but if you have a grid and someone was to say place this in D7, then you could be just like, all right, I'll follow the grid, I'll go to D, and then I'll see where it matches up with 7, and there you go. There you have like perfect placement. So it's always good to use perspective lines, even if you've been doing this for a long time. You might still want to use perspective lines, so you don't have to have the hassle of having to fix something down the line that you could have just taken care of in the initial phases. I mean, a little preparation goes a long way to preventing a bunch of like wasting time trying to fix things later. So I drew some lines around his arms to just try to like feel out the form, to wrap it around his body and try to see. And I was trying to do those lines in a way where they would fit the perspective, to see if I could make it more integrated into the singing. So I have my line snapping to the perspective again, and I'm building up his room. Goten has a room. Sort of like Gohan's room in the reference. I have that reference open just for inspiration. There's really nothing to copy from it because it's not the same perspective. But when you have something to inform your decisions, it makes life a little easier and you can be more confident as you draw. I made a table. I'm trying to make a little shelf. A little shelf where he can put his books, and sort of like my room when I was in high school. I had a table, I had a little shelf with some books, and then I would sit down and study every once in a while. Yeah. So here I'm drawing a wall. I'm using the curve ruler to draw a curve for a door or a doorway. No, a door. Yeah, there's a door because I placed something on the door too. And perspective is not a hard thing to learn. In like 2006, I bought a book called Perspective for the Comic Book Artist by David Chelsea, and in that book, it's like he teaches perspective with a character as if the lesson was a comic book. So the whole book is a comic book, and his character is talking to another fictional character named Mug, and they just go through 1 point, 2 point, 3 point perspective, drawing figures in perspective, and a few other things. I read that book, I bought that book, it was a good book. But my journey on learning perspective didn't stop there. Over the years, I've looked through many different books, and I think with art or anything else that you enjoy doing, you just want to keep learning as you go on. There might be times when you're not learning anything because you're very busy, but over the course of your art career, you want to just keep learning, because one person might say something that you've never heard before, or explain something in a way that really resonates with you, where you're just like, aha, now I really understand, And before you might have, vaguely understood the concept, been getting by on your good looks, just thinking, okay, everything's fine. But then you're really confident after you hear this one piece of advice or lesson, and you're just like, wow, I really understand it now. So, yeah. So here I'm building up this cat, and the funny story about this cat is okay, so there's a YouTube channel called Cream Heroes and Kittysaurus, and it's a channel by this woman named Claire. She's from South Korea, and she has 7 cats, and they are all awesome. So the cats have sometimes she'll place challenges out for them. She'll create like obstacle courses out of boxes. Sometimes the cats are just doing their thing and she records them, and she does funny voices and stuff. And it's a very interesting channel, and I recommend it for everybody. It's like really relaxing watching these cats. And this is Lulu. He's like the star and my favorite cat, even though he's a little greedy, but I love him. And I love drawing Lulu. So every once in a while, I'll add him to my art. So this is a construction method of drawing that I learned on drawbox.com. That's right, drawabox.com. That channel is hosted by a guy named Uncomfortable on Reddit. He has lessons that are written out and also video lessons on his site that link to his YouTube, and they go in order. So you learn first the basics of construction and of mark making so that your lines are confident, and then he goes on to teach you about how to draw insects, animals, objects, cars, vehicles, like generalized topic that cover so many things. He doesn't do figure drawing anymore, but there are many resources and books that you can use to learn how to draw the human figure. There's all the Andrew Loomis books, okay? and the Andrew Loomis books are really good. I would start if I was a beginner, or even if you've never read one of his books before. It's good to start with the book that's for beginners, Fun with a Pencil, and then you can move on to figure drawing for all it's worth, or drawing the head and hands, successful drawing, and then creative illustration. There's one more book. I don't remember the title of it. It's like How I Want to Draw or something like that. But yeah, his books are really good, so I recommend them for everybody. I mean, everybody who wants to do art and do it well. Andrew Loomis's books are amazing. So I recommend that for everybody. Here I'm just inking this cat because the construction lines, although they are very helpful, they are also very ugly. They don't look good, people. So I have to clean up and get rid of the construction lines. But it's fun. It's fun drawing animals, especially cute cats like Lulu. Ugh. Looks like an otter right now, which is pretty funny. But anyway, yeah. So why do I use Clip Studio Paint and not Photoshop? For the longest time, I've been using Photoshop because everywhere I went, all I would hear is, actually, you know what? In the past, okay, I started using Photoshop in 2004, and it's always been a thing. Like, you want to do digital art, use Photoshop, use Photoshop. I'd heard of Painter, but it seemed like all the really good artists were always using Photoshop. So I always just, went along with that. But as of late, I've been thinking, I don't want to subscribe to this monthly thing anymore. I don't want them taking my money monthly. I want a product I pay for and I get to keep. So I totally already had Clip Studio Paint. So I started to use it more often. And I was on Artstation learning for a month, and I saw this one tutorial. You guys can look it up. I don't remember the guy's name exactly, but he was totally using Clip Studio Paint to do like a painterly painting, digital painting, and it was beautiful. And I was like, you know what? The name is Clip Studio Paint. You should expect it to be good at digital painting, but I just never thought, it could be used for that. I used to make comics, like web comics, excuse me, I would make web comics in Clip Studio Paint, and it was great. But I never thought it would be good for painting. But surprisingly enough, it is. It is either just as good or sometimes a little better than Photoshop. It's not that I don't know how to use Photoshop. It's that I have had this love-hate relationship with Photoshop. It has a lot of features and it's really good, but you really need to know what you're doing. You need to have a plan and you need to have a method if you're going to make something that looks good. It's not that in Clip Studio Paint you don't have to have a method that looks good. It's just that the things you want to do, they're very straightforward in Clip Studio Paint. Like if I want to paint something and then I want to, the biggest thing is painting and blending the colors. So if I want to blend the colors, it's really straightforward in Clip Studio Paint. There's a blender and there are sliders and options for the blender, and it really makes life easier. But you still have to have a plan and know what you're doing. But I've been using digital paint programs since 2004. I've worked with Sketchbook Pro. I've worked with Painter. I've worked with Paint Tool Sci. What else have I used? I think that's pretty much it. But you know, over time you realize, why does it have to be so hard? Why do I have to go through the hardest path to get to where I want to go? Let me just do it, not the easy way, but a better way. You know. So I prefer Clip Studio Paint for digital painting. I've also used Krita, and I'll talk about Krita for a second. It is a really good program. It is really good. Like if I didn't have Clip Studio Paint, I might consider using Krita. I've seen artists like Sakura Tepes use Krita, and she makes amazing work. I mean, it is so unbelievable. So I like when I hear people saying I use Krita to make this amazing art, I believe them because I've seen videos of how it gets done, and I've even made one. So, well, I'm not saying that the art is amazing. I'm just saying you can make amazing art in Krita. So it's really cool. And Krita is free, so that's another thing. So so it might be somebody else's best option, but for now I'm gonna use Clip Studio Paint. Look at Lulu, so cute. So let's see. Adjust the scale of the size. The thing about the size of the cat and the angle of the pose of the kid is I'm not sure if I have the scale of the cat correct, because I don't have anything to go off of right now. If I was thinking of, well, you know what I should have done? I should have looked at the size of a anime kid's head in comparison with the size of a cat. Like so you could have you could Google a character holding a cat and then see what the relative size is, and I could have scaled it that way. But I wasn't thinking about that at the time. That's one of those things I just noticed right now. But it looks okay to me. I don't know. Guys, tell me what you think in the comments below. Here I'm just trying to clean up the lines and fit the anime character's head in the proper position to make it look like him. So that's another thing. When you're and it's a fun part of illustration, creating characters. Like you have the pose, you have the character, you have to put the character's likeness into the pose. Here I'm just taking this line to measure. There's supposed to be a space of 1 eye length in between the 2 eyes, so I'm just making sure everything looks right. But yeah, the fun of illustration is creating something that is new, something that's fresh, something that's original, something that hasn't been done before, or has been done before but just in a different way than you're doing it now, you know? So here I'm adding the eyes, the cheeks, the mouth. It I'm actually lucky that I chose this subject because the Dragon Ball characters, it's easy to nail the likeness because they have such a distinct style. And you know, Akira Toriyama is a legend. And when he creates characters, you know it's him. Like he does art for Dragon Quest, I think, also, which is another cool thing. I actually have never played any of the Dragon Quest games, but I know they are fun because so many people love them. And when I see the art from it, when I was in high school and I would see the art from Dragon Quest in the gamer magazines, I would be like, "Wow, this is such cool art. Reminds me of Dragon Ball Z," and right away you would know because his style was so distinct, and that's that's something that's really cool. And I don't think he ever sits down and says, "I'm gonna draw this way because I want it to be my style." I think over time, practicing drawing, it just became the way he draws, you know. And he might have created a character and said, "Oh, I like the way this looks. Let me create more characters similar to this." He might have done that, but like, you know, your style isn't something you have to stress and worry over and sit down for hours every night drawing in a sketchbook saying, do I like this style or not? It's something that comes around organically, and it's not something to worry about. That's why when I see videos like how to find your style and stuff, I kind of laugh because it's like, okay, it like when you draw a certain way, and unless you make a concerted effort, some of the ways you draw stay the same each time you draw it. So that's considered your style because those things kind of never change. Well, okay, they can change, but they don't change over the course of a few days or a few weeks. They might take months to years to change, and you have to kind of notice that you're doing something a certain way in order to fix it. Here, I had to get reference for the eyes because I wasn't sure how to draw his eyes closed for a character in the Dragon Ball world. So I found a reference on Google of Goku sleeping. So I used that for Goten. And there you have it. I could have stopped there, but I'll say, wait, there's more. I'm gonna draw some leaves, some flowers, some vines in this flower pot right in front of the window. So here I'm just organizing my layers. It's good to stay organized. It'll take a few seconds and it'll keep you from losing your mind when you're looking for layers later on. I know some people just the only reason to not label your layers is if you're working on one layer or two layers and you're like merging the layers constantly. If you're working with more than three layers, you should get in the habit of naming your layers so you don't lose your mind when you're actually looking for which layer to adjust and stuff. Here I'm just drawing the direction I want the leaves to go in. I learned this technique at drawbox.com. So in the plant demo lessons, in the plant lessons, you learn that when you're going to draw a leaf or something, it's best to give it some direction with some simple lines, and then you can come around and draw the actual leaf over it. You're about to see me do it, so yeah. So here I'm just gonna draw some leaves for these flowers. And the funny thing is, I think when I learned it, you're supposed to make the stems a little thicker, but I think it looks fine just adding leaves to this thin stem. That's a simple line. But if you want to make it look a little better, I would recommend doing a thicker stem. Yeah, just if you haven't heard of drawabox.com, I highly recommend it, because the funny thing is, I learned how to draw all this stuff, and the only thing I really wanted to learn in the beginning was how to draw cars. I love drawing cars. I mean, Mustangs, Camaros, Ferraris, Porsches, anything. The GTR, oh my goodness. I love drawing cars. But, like, it's the last lesson. Drawing cars is lesson number 7. And along the way, if you follow his instructions and totally do the assignments faithfully, you will learn so much more than drawing cars. And I'm so happy that, like, I was just like, you know what? Let me be honest with myself. Let me get what I'm putting into these lessons. So I did all of the assignments. I followed the instructions, and I can draw so much more than I could before, more convincingly, because the construction method that is taught on drawabox.com is like, it makes it so that when you draw things, they just look right. You know, they're not always gonna like look exactly like the reference, but when another person sees it, they don't need to see the reference. They don't need you to tell them what it is. They're like, oh, that's a sunflower, or oh, that's a butterfly, or a beetle, or whatever it is you're trying to draw that you learn in drawabox.com. You'll be able to do it more convincingly with the lessons that you learn there. So here I drew some circles, and these circles are sort of like guidelines to let me know where to place the flowers. So you first you draw the circles, and then you draw the flowers from the center radiating out of it, and then everything is positioned correctly and it looks convincing. Okay, so the Wacom tablet. For this illustration, for this sketch, I used a Wacom Intuos Pro M, and that is the tablet I've been using for since maybe like 2016. That's when I bought that tablet, and one of the things I noticed when I went back to my Intuos 3 that I was using previously was that the Wacom Intuos Pro M has more precision. The analogy I like to use is that using the Intuos Pro is like drawing with a .3 mechanical pencil. You can get so fine into detail. You can reach like every nook and cranny in your drawing. But with the Intuos the Intuos 3, it was like drawing with a crayon when I went back to it. I was like, wait a second. I'm trying to draw this line in between, like get into this detail in this character that I'm drawing, and I can't get there. And what's going on? And then I realized it was the hardware. The newer tablets are just more precise. It's not just about the pen pressure, it's also about precision. And I think, I'm not sure why they don't tell you that, but maybe they just don't have a metric, a way of measuring that, or of saying, hey, this is more precise. But it is, So if you've been using an Intuos 3 for a long time, or one of the older Wacoms, it might be time to upgrade. Just think about it. Can you afford it? Uh, do you think it would improve your art? Are you feeling limited by what you can do with the tablet that you have? All these, take them into consideration and make a decision. Now, earlier this year, I purchased the Cintiq Pro 24, and that is even more precise than the Intuos Pro. And the thing about that tablet is the pen pressure is noticeable. So with the Intuos 3 and the Intuos Pro, I I really didn't notice the pen pressure levels. They say that the Intuos Pro is 8,000 levels of pen pressure, and the Intuos 3 was like 2,000 something. But I really didn't notice the difference because there were ways to adjust how much pressure that the tablet would feel when you were pressing on it. So you can go to the adjustment sliders in the options for the tablet and totally make it feel harder or softer, like a pencil would be. Here in the illustration, this is what I did. I drew the 3 flowers on the left, 3 flowers all the way on the right, and then I came back, copy, pasted, and changed the orientation of the flowers in the middle so that I didn't have to draw everything. And now I'm erasing the parts of the flowers on the bottom so they can be on top, and on the top I'm going to erase part of the flowers so the flowers can be overlapped by the leaves and they could be under the leaves. But anyway, the Intuos Pro, it's a good midway point. It's better than the Intuos 3. It's not as good as the Cintiqs, but it is a solid option. So if you're thinking you do want a Cintiq, maybe save up for it, wait a while, and if you do have the money for an Intuos Pro now, and you think I've been using this Intuos 3 or other Intuos for a long time, and I really want to upgrade, I would say go for it, and it would help. But the disclaimer is this: if your art did not look good before, a new tablet or a Cintiq is not going to change that. I mean, if your fundamentals are not solid and you can't sometimes make sketches that you're like proud of, or things that look decent and people really respond to. I mean, I don't get thousands of views or likes or hundreds of likes on my artwork, but once in a while I will make something and my friends will be like, you know, Lonnie, you're really improving. I really like that. That's really awesome. Or my brother will say, that's cool. And, you know, these are people who are being honest with you. They're not like making things up or anything. So, I mean, if your artwork didn't look good before and you don't think that your fundamentals are where they need to be, I would say continue using whatever you have, Bamboo, Intuos 3, whatever it is, and really hone in on your skills. And then when you feel that you've gotten a little better or people are responding to your art, then maybe get something a little better and see how it improves your overall quality of what you produce. You know? What am I doing here? I'm looking at something I drew earlier. Here I'm just adding the vines. So the vines aren't so convincing because I thought of them as a last minute thing. I saw them in the reference and I thought, why don't we add some vines? So they're not really planned out, or I didn't really consider them much, but I added them last moment. If I finish art, or maybe I should say, when I finish this, I will revise those and make them look like something worth looking at. But on the Intuos, Cintiq, and the tablet debate, I would say you should totally get what you can afford, and know that it doesn't matter what tablet you have. It's not going to change what you can do as far as art. It's going to improve the quality a little bit. There will be a noticeable difference. It will make a difference, but if you want the type of difference that makes you happy, you need to improve your art skills. You need to work on the fundamentals, read the books, draw the examples, really study, do studies, practice, and you need to know what kind of artist you want to become. Because if you want to, if you're not sure what you want to do, that's fine too. But then you have to try everything and see what you like to do, or even what you're good at. Because sometimes, well, okay, what you're good at and what you like to do. Because if you're good at something but you don't like doing it, don't get into that. And if you like doing something but you're not good at it, you might want to either keep trying to get better, or try something that you enjoy and that you're good at, you know? But yeah. So I finished the flowers and the vines, and now I'm just gonna erase where I copied the layer for the flowers and the vines, and then I'm just erasing what's underneath. The reason I copied the layer and hid the other layer is so that if I change my mind about it, I can always go back, because you can never really rely on undo. You um, sometimes you need to have a backup when it comes to making major changes. I'm looking through the reference for something, for those panes on the. I mean, I don't know what they are. They're like frames. Those frames on the side of the window. I'm trying to like draw the way they go across and have the striations and the lines and the ridges. So I'm making these lines. You could probably have done this a different way, like done it on one side and then copy and pasted it on the other side. But what I'm going to do here is make the lines across, and then I'm going to delete what's in the middle. They kind of look like window blinds, which is pretty cool. Maybe next time, well, if I do something like this again, maybe I'll use window blinds to add depth, you know. Turning off my ruler, my perspective ruler, and I'm almost finished with this. So I'm just cleaning things up, and the sketch is pretty much finished. Just erasing the lines underneath the character and on the areas so that things could overlap properly. I'd really like to know what you guys think of this sketch. I think the idea is a very calming one, very serene, peaceful, like a sunny afternoon just inside. And the way the cat is looking to us might seem strange at first, but what I was thinking about is that whenever I'm outside, sometimes I'll see a cat. It's going about its business, but then it sees me and it stops, and then it looks at me, and if I approach it, it runs away. But if I go around or I'm going in a different direction, it'll go back to what it was doing. It'll like just chill there or whatever, you know. Here I'm trying to erase some lines that I noticed, some artifacts from a previous time when I was sketching. Yeah. And here's the final image. There's still some lines, some stray lines that I need to clean up, but when I finish this, I'll totally do that. Dragon Ball universe is pretty cool. Just labeling my layers. And organizing things. Flipping the canvas to see if anything looks odd. When you flip the canvas, you get fresh eyes to look at your piece, and you can notice any mistakes or any issues. I think I'm fixing his Goten's head. Looks a little strange to me, so I'm just gonna fix that. Actually, it still looks strange to me now that I'm looking at it again. Or maybe it works. It works when I'm finished with the sketch. So it's fine. This sketch is such like an indication of the character. I always felt like, okay, so Goten and Trunks were born at around the same time. They're kind of like age mates, and they always hang around each other and play. And I always felt like Goten was the calm one, and Trunks was always like very troublesome and like wilder and like get you into trouble and stuff. And Goten was more like, I don't think we should do that, Trunks. And Trunks was like, come on, dude, we should totally do this. So like him sleeping in the window with a cat, just like hanging around him, I think that fits his personality pretty well. I'm just trying to fix the table, and then I noticed there's a tangent as it touches the cat. So I'm trying to fix that and trying to make it less bad. Okay, I forgot how to talk. Uh, just more appealing to the eye, you know. And I'm done. Thank you for watching. I will see you guys next time. Goodbye.